Real Virginia is produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Become a Farm Bureau member today.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce all the wonderful products we enjoy. This month we take you inside the kitchen of a Virginia food expert who uses eggs in a great traditional Southern dish. And we're going to show you several goat farms and how the industry is growing in Virginia. Plus we'll explain how farmers are working to preserve their land through a program called FarmLink. On the first stop of our visit, we're going to talk with Andy Hankins, who is a cooperative extension specialist with Virginia State University. He's going to show us how we can raise our own shiitake mushrooms from the ground up.
I'm Andy Hankins from the ground up, and we're at Sharon Farm in Albemarle County talking to mushroom grower Mark Jones. It's March and we're going to be thinking about growing shiitake mushrooms on natural oak logs. Can you tell us how we do this, Mark?
Sure, Andy. The way that starts is we need a pure culture of the mushroom, and this is a pure culture of shiitake mushroom on a Petri plate. And what happens when this is grown through, we transfer it to sterilized organic rye grain, like you have in your hand there, and from the rye grain, we transfer it to sterilized sawdust. Now the sawdust is then inoculated or placed into freshly cut oak logs so that the mushroom has something to grow into. What we do is drill holes in the log and then transfer the sawdust into the log and then cover it up with wax so that it won't dry out while it has a chance to grow through the wood. We've drilled the holes in a diamond pattern on the logs so that the mycelium, that is the roots of the mushroom, have an opportunity to grow together and mature in the log, as I mentioned earlier. We've melted some cheese wax on a hot plate, and we just take this wool dauber here and put a little bit of wax over each one, making sure there are no pinholes. Andy, after the logs are inoculated with the sawdust spawn, we bring them out here to the laying yard where we keep them close to the ground but with enough airflow around them so that they don't get a lot of contamination. It takes about 6 to 12 months for the shiitake species or strains to grow through the log and become mature enough to produce mushrooms. And then we move them from here into the production yard. Well, you don't need much room to get started. It's good to have dappled sunlight rather than direct sunlight in a well-drained area. You need a place where you can soak the logs in water that's not chlorinated. If you do have chlorinated water, you can let that evaporate for a day or so. I soak the logs for about 24 hours and that initiates the mushrooms to form. And then I pull them out and I stack them like this, or lean them vertically so that the mushrooms have room to develop and that they don't remain wet.
Now we're in your indoor production facility. Can you please tell us about how you grow mushrooms in here?
Sure. These are shiitake mushrooms growing on sawdust, and these are ready to harvest. We like to bring the highest quality mushrooms to market, and we pick these again with the caps enrolled like this, and we package these in boxes and take them to restaurants and to grocery stores in town.
For more information about mushroom production, contact your local cooperative extension office. This is Andy Hankins from the ground up.
Passing on the family farm is a vital part of keeping agriculture alive in Virginia. Unfortunately, it's not always easy for a young farmer to get started in the industry, and that's why there's a program that's been created called FarmLink. And as Norm Hyde reports, it's connecting old and young farmers together to preserve this way of life.
The average age of a Virginia farmer is just under 60 years. Many are retiring each year, and their land's either being sold for development or leased by older farmers expanding their own operations. That often puts a beginning farmer into a catch-22 situation. Bob Harris has been helping a nearby tobacco farmer raise seedlings and tobacco, and he sees this firsthand.
when a landowner comes to you or you approach a landowner to lease land, to rent land, they're not familiar with you, they're not familiar with your operation, whereas, you know, Joe Blow down the street, he's already set up, he's already established, he can afford to pay higher rents, so a lot of times the land will go to him versus you.
A decade ago, the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services created the FarmLink program, an online database designed to help would-be farmers connect with farmers willing to help transition their operations to the next generation. But so far, there have not been any success stories. Young farmers and FarmLink are trying to kickstart the program by holding a series of workshops on farm transitions, starting in Southside Virginia in the Shenandoah Valley. They especially want producers in their 40s and 50s to attend who love their land but don't have any family members who want to continue farming.
We're trying to get them in there, and we have one segment that we kind of jokingly refer to it as speed dating for farmers. I mean, what we do is we just sit through there and we talk with older farmers or older generation farmers and young producers and get them talking just to start that dialogue.
Meanwhile, a new effort is underway, the newly formed Virginia Beginning Farmer Program. The program is based out of Virginia Tech but has regional coordinators and sites across Virginia. One site is the Fauquier Education Farm, which this spring is hosting a brand new beginning farmer class for 15 participants.
The instruction will be of two types. It will be online, but it will also be hands-on. So 9 labs, 6 of those labs will be conducted right here. And so the participants will come out, and it's part of the plan that they get hot, they get dirty, and they get a real taste of what it's like to work outside.
The Fauquier, Madison, and Rappahannock County Cooperative Extension offices are supporting the Fauquier Education Farm. Hillary says this initial class of beginning farmers includes everyone from young people wanting to get started in agriculture to older folks who want a lifestyle change. They're testing out curriculum that's been developed at Virginia Tech based on other small farm education and training models. And while Hillary says they'll have 15 participants in this first class, he does not want or expect to have 15 farmers graduate.
It provides them an opportunity to flesh out their idea and to gather the information that they need to make an informed decision to move forward with their idea, to delay or postpone that idea, and finally perhaps set aside that idea and leave farming to farmers.
Leaders of the Beginning Farmer Program and the FarmLink program are also talking and working with each other, continuing to seek ways to solve the challenge of helping the next generation of farmers get a successful start. As Harris puts it, young farmers don't want a handout, they just want a fair chance.
My ultimate goal is to one day be able to have a farm that I can pass on to my kids. But on the same token, I'm already looking ahead. If none of my kids want to come back to the farm, then I want to find a younger generation farmer, because it's very important to me that my family farm be continued for generations to come.
For a location so close to Washington, D.C., Fauquier County is quite an agricultural powerhouse. Fauquier County still has 1,222 farms, generating almost $48 million in cash receipts. The top crops are barley, corn, hay, and soybeans, and there are 43,800 head of cattle within a 45-minute drive of the nation's capital. Fauquier County is one of Virginia's top equine communities and also has a thriving local foods and pick-your-own industry.
Up next on Real Virginia, we're going to show you how you can take a dozen eggs and make a wonderful traditional Virginia dish, all in the heart of the home with Kendra Bailey Morris.
Hi, I'm Mark Viette. Coming up on In the Garden, I'm going to talk about a great, fragrant, long-lived plant for your garden, the peony. Stay with us.
My journey into dairying began back when I was a child growing up on the farm in Maryland. I love being a dairy farmer because it's an adventure to be a dairy farmer. It's a new beginning every day. A lot of people drive by my dairy farm and they recognize it as being a dairy, but they didn't really recognize it as a product until I built the dairy and ice cream store. And when we built that, people associated the ice cream and the milk to this dairy farm.
It's a huge responsibility that we have being farmers, and we're proud to be able to do it.
Every day we have the opportunity to provide a wholesome product that's vitamin rich and nutrient full. We are very fortunate to be able to raise our families in such a wonderful environment. I am Ken Smith, a 4th generation dairy farmer from the state of Virginia, and I'm dedicated to dairy, my cows, my milk, and my land.
We continue our trend of finding great locally produced foods and using them in your kitchen in your home. Today, Kendra Bailey Morris, a cookbook author and writer, shows us how to use eggs in a great dish that's perfect for entertaining in the heart of the home.
Hi, I'm Kendra Bailey Morris, and welcome to The Heart of the Home. Today we're going to be making one of my favorite recipes. It's a recipe for a BLT deviled egg. And now this is not your average deviled egg. This is a bacon, lettuce, and tomato deviled egg. So I'm taking all of the concept that goes behind a BLT sandwich and stuffing it into a deviled egg. So let's get started. First off, you want to make sure that you have good Virginia farm fresh eggs. So we're going to go ahead and take our egg and we're going to slice them long ways. And basically we're just gonna, and that one just came out, we're gonna pop out the yolks and put them in a bowl. There you go. Okay, now we're gonna add some mayonnaise, and this is about 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise, not a tremendous amount. And I like to add a little Dijon mustard in mine. Totally up to you, but just a little pinch. You could use a yellow mustard, gives it a little bit more of a yellow color. It's more of a southern traditional thing. And the one thing about deviled eggs is you want to make sure that they're creamy and not too thick. So this is where a secret ingredient comes in. And if you're lucky enough to find some of these at the farmer's market, you're going to score really well. These are bread and butter pickles, and these are pickles that I have here that my mother cans, and they're really wonderful. It's a sweet pickle and almost like a syrupy glaze. And I'm going to fish some of these out. And there's a little bit of onion in there. And I'm going to chop these up, maybe 2 or 3. Not a whole lot. You could add more if you want. And I call this recipe a sweet and savory BLT deviled egg, and the sweet is really going to come from these bread and butter pickles. What I like about adding a little sweetness to this is you're going to have that salty bacon, which we're going to chop up in just a minute, and it's going to mix really beautifully and marry nicely with the sweet of these pickles. And before I finish that, I like to add a little bit of the pickle juice. One of my favorite things. And I have my bacon here that's already been cooked. And you want to definitely crumble it, but beyond crumbling it, you want to mince it up pretty finely because we're going to put it in a piping bag. And a lot of times these piping bags have these little tips, and if you have big chunks of bacon in there, it's going to clog up your piping bag. It's not going to come out. So let's go ahead and chop this up. And since I already have some in there, I'm not going to put a ton, but about 3 decent pieces of bacon. You really want it to be about this fine. Okay. So I've got that in there. Next, we want to do a little bit of salt. Not a ton of salt. You always want to be aware that when you're working with ingredients like bacon that are naturally salty, you don't want to add too much additional salt because it'll tend to go overboard, and while you can add more salt if it's not salty enough, if it's oversalted, it's oversalted. There's really not a whole lot you can do. And deviled eggs are kind of a funny thing. People like to make them different ways, so feel free to vary on this. You could put dill pickles in place of it if you don't want the sweet in there. You could add red peppers. You could add all different kinds of things in there. I've seen deviled eggs made a million different ways, from crab meat and caviar to bacon. So this is coming together exactly the way I want it. This is looking good. And this is just a plastic disposable piping bag. Pretty much you can find these in the grocery store, and they work really nicely. If you don't want to buy these with the tips, you can always do the old plastic Ziploc bag method, which is just snip off a little corner. But one thing that you want to always do before you fill them is roll them down. Because if you try and fill them up like this, you'll get your hand in there, and this is going to be a big mess. And then we're going to take our filling. And this is where it comes in real handy to fold this down, because there you have everything in there, and no mess all over your hands. So when you work with piping bags, it's really important to make sure that you are pushing from the top and not pushing from down here, because if you push from down here, it's all going to come back out the top. So one method that I use is just kind of a twist like this, and then I just put some gentle pressure on it. And I'm just going to fill these, and they look really pretty. Here we have our deviled eggs finished. And so in order to make the lettuce and tomato and the full BLT, we're just going to put tomato on each one of these. And these are just grape tomatoes. You could do little cherry tomato halves. You could dice up some tomato, however you want to do it. I'm just going to put them on the platter. You can see they're already really pretty. These are going to disappear. Okay, and here's where our lettuce comes in. And there's different ways you can do this. You could put the lettuce down first, then put your tomato on top. But I kind of found this is kind of just, scattering a little lettuce about just to add a little bit of color. If it falls off while you're eating it, no problem. So there you have it, my sweet and savory BLT deviled eggs, bacon, lettuce, and tomato deviled eggs. For the Heart of the Home, I'm Kendra Bailey Morris. Let's get cooking.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafarmbureau.org.
Virginia's poultry and egg industries are the largest in the state's farm economy. 6 poultry processing companies employ about 10,000 workers, and there are more than 1,100 family-run poultry farms around the state. According to the latest figures, Virginia's poultry producers contributed $984.7 million to the state's economy annually. The Shenandoah Valley and the Eastern Shore are the state's top poultry-producing regions. Poultry raised on Virginia farms is sold all over the eastern seaboard, and poultry products are exported to Asia and other countries.
I think the next generation has to look to be more efficient, be careful, be conservative, but be aggressive too.
To be a third-generation dairy farmer means a lot. It means that I'm able to keep on the traditions set forth by my parents and my grandfathers.
After I graduated high school, I attended Virginia Tech. I studied dairy science. Upon graduation, I returned home to the farm and was full-time, have been full-time ever since.
Family farms are very important to society in general. It helps allow the consumer to know where the food came from and that it was produced properly and taken care of and able to take it to their dinner plate in a healthy manner.
I'm confident the consumer is getting a good product when it leaves here. All dairy farmers, that is their goal. I'm Forrest Knuckles, a dairy farmer from Virginia, and I'm dedicated to dairy, my cows, my milk, and my land.
Goat farms are popping up all over Virginia, and the reason for this surge is the influx of people moving here from countries such as Latin America, Africa, and the Middle East. And with these cultures come their dietary traditions, like goat meat. Goat is the most popular meat product around the world, but Virginia farmers raise goats for more than just meat. They raise them for dairy, fiber, and land clearing. David Vinish grew up on a farm working livestock, so when he took on 3 goats that later became a working herd, it just seemed natural.
And I had all the way up to 70 nannies. And when they have twins, that's quite a few babies on the ground. So some of them went for selling, some of them for breeding. Other people building up their herd, and then some of them went to Pennsylvania for meat at the stockyard in Pennsylvania, and then a lot of them I sell right here off the farm.
The top 10 goat meat producing countries include India, Nigeria, and Pakistan, but China is the leader, accounting for 38% of the world's goat meat. Glenn Martin, a livestock producer in Caroline County, says even when his herd is at peak production, it's tough sometimes to keep up with the demand from customers.
I pretty much stay sold out now. I have calls every week and I can't find them anywhere, so that we just hold off and wait until we have the next crop.
Most meat goats are sold when they reach 50 to 60 pounds. The health benefits of goat are widely praised. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, it has 50 to 65% less fat, more iron per ounce, and fewer calories than beef. More people worldwide drink goat milk than the milk of any other animal, according to the American Dairy Goat Association. While still new to Virginians, goat milk is becoming more popular.
It should not taste bad. If they've had milk that has tasted bad, it was because pretty much it had a high bacteria count. It should taste sweet and creamy, maybe a little lighter than cow's milk.
Downey and her family have been in the commercial dairy business since 2008. She offers a wide variety of goat milk products, including soap, body butter, laundry detergent, lotions, and artisan cheese. Downey has about 40 goats, including Alpines, Nubians, La Manchas, and Saanens.
Goats have been here for many, many, many years. They came over with the Pilgrims. But they were always considered the poor man's cow. There was no status with the goats.
While used for dairy and meat, some breeds of goat also make excellent brush clearers. They will eat anything in a forest from 4 feet down and are used to clear overgrown property. And other breeds of goats are used to produce cashmere for high-quality clothing. Goats are truly one of the most versatile livestock animals on Virginia farms.
Peonies love full sun. The leading reason peonies don't bloom for people is they plant them in full sun, and then they plant a couple trees. A few years later, the trees are completely shading peonies. At least give peonies all afternoon day sun from like 12 o'clock in the afternoon through evening. That'll help them bloom better for you. If they don't get enough sun, in addition to not blooming well, they'll flop and fall over in the garden, especially the ones that are double like this. One of my favorite peonies is Gay Paris. It's an anemone type, not fully double like this, so Gay Paris, even in the heavy rains, doesn't fall over. I hate staking plants. It's a lot of waste of time, I think, unless it's a very cherished plant that you have. Peonies have been grown in the U.S. since 1757. So I consider them an heirloom plant or an old-fashioned plant. They'll live for 100, 150 years. Really don't need to do anything. Just cut them down to the ground every fall, probably in August or September. I just trim them right to the ground. Now this is the garden or herbaceous peony. You would also do this with the eye-toe peonies, which I'll show you, a beautiful yellow one, in just a minute. And the only other thing you might want to do is use them as a cut flower. As a cut flower, you're going to want to find them in bud, where the flowers are just opening. You want to be sure you do not get flowers that are fully open and the petals are just ready to fall out like this. You want to get them when they're smaller. You can cut them in bud and even put them in the refrigerator and keep them for a month later in bloom. Tree peonies are really beautiful, almost crepe paper-like flowers. This is a plant you do not cut back. You can cut off the old flowers, but if you cut any further down this stem, you'll either kill the plant or it will never flower for you in the future. I enjoy growing new plants, and one of the things that really has been great in the garden is a hybrid between the garden peony and the tree peony, which are called eye-toe peonies. And look at the beautiful yellow flower that we have here. Remember, peonies are long-lived, they're fun. Everyone should have them in the garden. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, go to inthegardenradio.com.
We hope you enjoyed this month's program. We have a great time traveling the state and bringing you all the wonderful stories our farmers have to tell. And we hope in some way you're able to improve your daily lives through agriculture, whether it's in your kitchen, your home garden, or even in the front lawn and landscaping. We're so fortunate to live here in Virginia where there's so many wonderful flavors and foods to enjoy, and that's what makes it Real Virginia. So for everyone from the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching. Make it a good month.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia.